This one is related to the kingdom within our interior life. And this page is a practice or a questionnaire for, if you had done this with me in the fellowship, please bear with me as we go through this. So it is always important that we do the spiritual work. We think about it and we talk about it all the time. Prayer, reading the Bible, and fasting, reading spiritual books. But that needs a foundation, needs a little bit of a base that we need to start with. Sometimes we think about our spiritual work as a duty, hard work that needs to be done, and it should be. But there is an underlying something that the Desert Fathers had practiced. They call it the economy, your way of dealing with yourself, with your soul. For me to go and pray and do a liturgy if I'm so tired and I cannot stand, I don't think I'm going to harvest anything. I can't even continue to pray. Sometimes, some days when I didn't sleep well at night or something, my prayer and the liturgy is a struggle, just to stand there and finish. Or your prayers at home becomes a chore. And if you keep dragging yourself for a long time, at one point or another you will stop. You all experience this. You're tired, if you are anxious. So the monks had taught us this. They said, your life is one. You cannot partition it and make it compartments. You cannot say, this is my work life, and this is my spiritual life, and this is my family life, and this is my personal life. And there's lots of compartments. We divide them. This is one of the plagues of this time we live in. So I wanted to share this with you today so that you actually understand that our life should be one and whole. No compartments. And we talk now about different things. Time management. You have to manage your time well. I think it's much more than time management. Even many people have said that. Time management is a tool, but the problem is, I'll give you an example. So you manage your time and you put everything in place, but you keep adding things. So whatever you saved, you're always going to utilize. So what is the end? We go back to the same corner, the same place. So the monks and many generations spoke about things like this. They said, the beginning of all things is to actually see what's important, what's not important. What's important to be done, what's not important. Because when you're busy, you don't stop and think about what's important. And then we keep piling stuff on ourselves. We keep doing this. And we don't learn from the mistakes. So there's 10 points here, believe it or not, we share with the Buddhists. The Buddhist monks would do the same thing. And I say this also that Buddhist and Christian monks have something in common, but they're not exactly the same. What's the difference between monks in the church, Christian monks and Buddhist monks? I said this in the fellowship too, and I'm going to say it. The Buddhist is a human philosophy. This is not a religion. They discovered that when a person has no fear and has no anxiety or sadness or anger, they're happy. If you take from them sadness and anxiety and fear, they're happy. So they discovered also from Buddha, their founder, who is a Hindu, that the reason for anxiety, fear, and anger is, it's a little bit more complicated, but I will simplify it, is our desires, the wanting for things. If you don't have desires, you don't have to be angry or afraid or sad. So they said the way to reach happiness and peace is to get rid of desires, whatever you want. It's not necessarily important. And because of our desires, we keep adding jobs to our life, we keep adding things. And we're afraid to lose what we want, so we keep adding things to make it secure. This is the reason for sadness. A monk will say the same. I don't want anything from the world. I don't want money. I don't want prestige. I don't want fame. I don't want control. I don't want power. None of that. So what do you want? He would say, I want God. The difference between a Buddhist monk and a Christian monk is that the Buddhist monk would want nothing, zero. And this is how he's happy. But the Christian monk desires one, God. That's what he's seeking. So in the Buddhist relationship with reality is the zero, the nothingness. The Christian desire of reality is the one purpose for all things, which is God. They both have to give up. They both have to give up things. And they both have to be very serious and alert about what they're doing. So this is a very simple thing that I want you to, if you have a pencil or a pen, to turn it into questions. And that's for you. That's not something I would see. The first thing is to answer those questions. Avoid multitasking at all times. So you want to ask yourself, why multitasking is bad? Why is it bad? You're doing too many things at the same time. Why is it bad? Because you're doing too many things at the same time, you're not giving anything 100%. So that tells me they're not important. That tells me it's not important. It's almost like when you sit with somebody on the phone and they're talking to somebody or looking at their text as they're talking to you. What does that make you feel like? Not important. So apparently whatever you're doing together, neither of them is very important. So this tells me that you're doing too many things that you may need not to do. Sometimes you say, they're not important, but I need to get done with them because they're necessary. I need to get done with them. But how much time you spend doing that? So you might say, okay, I am washing the dishes, I'm listening to an audiobook, and answering my phone. Okay, fine, but how long do you do that? How much time you spend doing it? So a question like this should be in your answer. So tell yourself, what are the things you tend to have to do this and how much time you spend a day doing it? Because this is one of the most destructive habits that goes against your spiritual life. To learn to be one and whole, to be completely available and present. That is important, so that you can actually do the same in prayer. If you are used to multitasking, prayer is going to be part of that. That's why some people come and say, Abuna, is it wrong to pray as I'm driving? Is it? But if all what you pray is during driving, why? Why is it wrong to pray as you drive? You say, I'm going to do my prayers. In the morning I drive for half an hour, 40 minutes. I do my first hour. At night I come back and I pray as I'm driving. What's wrong with that? And this is something we need to teach our kids, huh? You're not all there, right? Half of you has to be looking at the road, right? That's very true. So that if God is important enough and our prayer is important enough, I give it my full attention. And then I would pray during driving, I would pray during reading, I would pray during anything else. The prayer should not stop. But there still should be a time where I'm fully there. So that's something we need to answer. Avoid multitasking at all times. So what multitasking I'm doing and when I do it, this is important to pay attention to. The second one, do each thing intentionally and thoughtfully. So you might think it is not important to wash the dishes. It's not important, something very unimportant. But from a monastic point of view, washing dishes is as important as going to church. You might laugh and think this is no, it's actually true. Why? You think about it as isolated event. But think about it as a life. Huh? In everything we do, we have to see the importance that God has given us. Would it be different from someone who is an advisor of the president than a plunger or somebody in a restaurant? Is it different if God has given us the job? We're going to talk about the parable of the talents. Someone is given 1 talent, someone is given 5 talents. Does it make any difference what they do with each talent, or what's the number of talents they have, or what they do with it, and the quality they do it with it? If God is giving me this job, then I should do it perfectly. And if God is not giving me this job, I don't want it. And here is the ultimate thing. If our life is made up of a lot of insignificant jobs, what does that say? If my life is filled with tangential problems, things that I need to work on, it doesn't matter really. Anybody can do it. Then what does it say about my life? Then my whole life is insignificant. And that makes us lose value in what we're doing and our value in our life. This is very dangerous, extremely dangerous. So everything has to be done intentionally and thoughtfully with focus, even if it is washing dishes, cleaning the house. And that's why today we have a lot of unhappy people. People who wants to be more, wants to take more control. They say, my life is insignificant. I'm only just a mother. What do you mean you're only just a mother? Like some women are like they say, they are ashamed to tell me that they have no job. They're just a mother. I said, just a mother? As if you're just telling me, I'm just a queen. Just a mother? That's a full-time job, and it's the most important job. Anything you do with care is important, and that's what is your life value. So this is another one. Think about things that you do with no intention or no thoughtfulness. Write them down for you, for your own sake. And think about them again and say to yourself, or ask yourself, are they really important or not important or important? The third one, to complete tasks. Sometimes we start things and never finish them. We get distracted. We get pulled away. We need to think about what we need to do and to complete it fully. For this reason, number 4 comes. Do less, to not do more. That's a great fight. A great fight to say no. They say this is the most holy word. No. And I agree. It's a hard word to say to things come our way, and to learn to say no, not because you don't want to serve or you're not loving. If somebody needs something, you need to do it. But here's something for us to think about. To accept a new job means what? It should mean what? You have to give up something. To accept something new, in your mind you should know that it has a price. Because if you follow this, if all what I'm doing is not important, then pile it on. You might as well give me more. Because they're all unimportant. I don't really care about any of them. But if something is important that has to move or to cancel something else that is important. Might be your sleep, might be your time off, it might be your other thing that you were thinking about doing. Something has to be given to this. Again, the next one is very difficult. Keep pauses between tasks. Even 2 minutes. Even 2 minutes. Just to stop and not start something immediately. Why? This will help in you evaluating what you have done and evaluating what's coming. And not even you don't think about it and you do anything else, just to kind of break that mind business and that absent-mindedness. This is, for the monks in general, the worst thing to do is to do things without mindless. Just keep doing it. Just keep going. Just keep swimming. That fits for Dory, right? When she does something and then completely forgets about it. If it's important enough, you will come back. If it is not important, you don't need to come back. I don't think this will happen at work. Let's say you finished the job at work and you need to do like maybe 4 or 5 jobs, one after another. So you take a break between one and another. Just pause and just don't do anything. Even if you don't think about anything, just pause. That's what you do. Number 6, develop habits intentionally. Sometimes habits creep into our life unintentionally. You fall into the same cycle, and at the end of the cycle, maybe 3-4 times, you end up collecting habits. And sometimes we do habits because we are tired and we are mindlessly exposed to things that get our attention, like going on the internet or going on social media, and then you learned somehow that after a day finish, we unwind by picking up our phone and going on social media. You picked up a habit. You didn't really think about it. It just came. I remember doing this in medicine. And I was in medicine, Iowa. After finishing a whole day, we used to stay very long hours. After I get done, I don't want to think about anything. I'm so tired and I'm exhausted. I go home and I'm alone. I sit in front of the TV until I sleep. I'm so tired to get up and pray. I'm so tired to get up and read anything or do anything. I already ate in the hospital and I'm not going to be doing anything. This happened, and I found myself after 3 months doing this every day. I wake up in the morning, I'm on the couch sitting. I didn't go anywhere. I got so angry, actually. On weekend, I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I canceled the TV cable. I said, from now on, I'm going to get DVDs and I'm going to pick them. And the DVDs will be only for an hour. Even if it's a long DVD, I'm going to break at an hour and do what I need to do so I can pray, I can read, I can do what I need, clean. So we have to do that. Just what kind of unintentional habits we picked that we didn't think about it. And then we need to think about them and develop new habits intentionally. So you notice here, everything is done with thought. Nothing is done with absent-mindedness. So if you think about it, all the monks, Christian or non-Christian, are all about full watchfulness, awake, to be awake. Be intentional about doing certain things. So might have you might think about doing exercise. There is a Abuna in New York who's an old Abuna. I don't know if he still preaches that. He's preaching exercising. He preaches. He's like Peter Reddy. Preaches about health. If Peter's somewhere and he's like asleep and you start saying health, what happens? He wakes up and he starts talking. He would have to respond. I gave it a try last week. We were in the fellowship and he was baking urban and the door is open and I said, and I made myself a little louder. Said, I was making a point and I said, you have to think about your health. And he kept running out of the urban. I said, yes. Intentionally. So some things have to be done very intentional. Like you have to think about what you need to do. Our problem is when we think that this is something to think about. The temptation comes when things are not going very well. And it's very tough. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to face it. We don't want to pay any attention to it. So we run away. We go and grab our gadgets and we doze off with eyes open. You know what I mean? To doze off with the eyes open. That's exactly it. So that's what kids do with games, adults do with social media, or any other things that they are attached to. Maybe a show. Most women in the church, unfortunately, addicted to Turkish shows because it's like I think the show is like 300 episodes or more. I think they start like the actors start as young kids and they grow with the show until they're old. So that it's endless. And the women in the church, I don't know what's the problem. They're addicted to it. This is when they doze off with their eyes open. So the intention about doing certain things, devote time to prayer and meditation. You have to. If you are intentional about this and you're doing all this, actually you will find time to do important things. So in this point, I think next one is about priorities. Priorities. You need to think about priorities. But be careful. Here is what I'm going to say. Sometimes when you think about priorities, we get sad. We get turned off. Why? You know what I mean? Why we get sad when we think about priorities? It is not fun. Our priorities mostly are very demanding, stressful. So you look at your list of priorities and say, this is grim. Is this my life? I'm going to live like that? But that's not what's supposed to happen, by the way. This is not what's supposed to happen. I think for Buddhists, even Buddhists, they include in their meditation time, and our monks, and I lived with our monks and I know what they do, our monks include in their time every day what? Meditation time. What is meditation time? They go out and walk in the desert, spend it in the garden in the monastery. That's why in the good monasteries, not any monastery, they have beautiful gardens. They're very well done. The architecture and the garden and the church are the top beautiful things you see. So that their time is not all grim. They have fun time. And that fun time, they meet God. So the meditation time is a time to relax and to doze off, but in a beautiful setting, not in front of useless, harmful stuff. So when you think about priorities, you always think about what I need to do, what I need to do. No, you need to think about time off when you actually are relaxed. Your meditation time should be more than your, if that is possible. But that means that I'm looking into my day and seeing where am I losing time. Because sometimes at the end of your relaxing time, when you look at media and social media, you end up being more stressed and more alert. This is what happens. That's hurtful. We become more anxious. And kids do the same. They hurt themselves. They go on the video games. What happens at the end of the video game? They are wired. They think that the relaxing time for them is to go and be chased after and be killed and fire and killing and all that. So you end up being more exhausted and stressed. But if the meditation time is really good, you end up being joyful, peaceful, relaxed, recharged, that stuff. So I think from a practical point of view, watching movies or shows that excite us, makes us excited, but actually makes us anxious, turning on our sympathetic system from a medical point of view will lead to us be more exhausted, and at the end of it, we're not going to be better off. So this is important. The idea about devote time to prayer and meditation is extremely important. If you ask someone who's a prayer master or somebody who teaches prayer, they will tell you, we work to pray, we eat to pray, and we teach our kids, and we have apartments, and we have places to go to, and we sleep so that we can wake up and charge and meditate. So they say meditation and prayer is the goal of life. Take it or leave it, but this is reality. To meditate and to be relaxed and to be enjoying the presence of God and the beauty is the goal of our life. Everything else we do is to help. If someone is a physician, they're trying to get people to be healthy so they can actually enjoy meditation and prayer. If a plumbing is going to fix your plumbing so that you have good water so you can shower and you can wash your face and you can cook, so they can enjoy prayer and meditation. If somebody's a carpenting, and go on and on and on. So the goal of all life is to spend time with God, either in meditation or prayer. So for this reason, we have to change our priorities to make it go that direction. Anything that makes us tense and frustrated and angry and depressed, if it's not necessary, get rid of it completely. Even if it's the most entertaining thing in the world. That's why the world is going against that. It's all about being excited. It's all about being angry or anxious or fearful. What do you see in the movies? The most popular movies are either horror movie or sexual stuff or violence. If it doesn't have one of the three, I don't think it will get any rating. Not be entertaining. But what does humans do when they see these things? They lose and they don't gain anything. Dedicate time to cleaning, cooking, Attention to meals and the rooms we live in. It's important. Why? Why is it important? We compare this to the ones before. Why a clean, ordered room, a beautiful room, simple room, is important? It gives more appropriate for meditation, relaxing, and being ourselves. A cluttered room, a dirty room, smelly room, always makes a person very uncomfortable. That's very simple. That's why you go to the monasteries. Again, the good monasteries, what do you see? I think it's more successful in the girls' monasteries than the men. What do you see? Beauty, cleanness, organized, smells nice, very well ordered. It's very important that we actually pay attention to our places and teach our kids to do the same, because cluttered, dirty, smelly places is not conducive to any kind of spiritual growth. I think the Jews have it, but maybe it's American slogan. I'm not sure who. We said cleanness is close to, you've heard this before? Cleanness is close to, next to godliness. I think it's Jewish. Cleanness is close to holiness. Yeah, exactly. So cleanness is close to holiness. So our houses, our places should be clean and neat and beautiful. They should not be cluttered. It doesn't mean that should be expensive. Does that mean clean and beautiful and attractive should be expensive? That's another myth. That's not true. A simple house with simple furniture that's put right and chosen right and put in the right places makes you feel very comfortable, and it makes you feel relaxed and want to spend time in that place. But the opposite is true too. Think about your coming day and what tasks need to be done, which of them is necessary, and prioritize. You can use these things now. You can put a calendar and put on it, and all times I used a piece of paper, and put on it what you need to do for the next day, things that we need to do. I personally need to go on that. So you really look at the day. Before you go and start the day, what is it that you need to do? What is it that is not important? What is it that can be postponed? Postpone anything you don't need. There's a beautiful song for Francis of Assisi that he said this. Francis said this. He said, if you want to live life, what did he say? If you want to live your life, free. Let your time go slowly. Do few things, but do them right. Simple joys are holy. It's very beautiful when you think about it. He says, you don't have to save a lot of money, work very hard, save a lot of money to go on a cruise or go into a different country to enjoy life. You don't have to. By doing that, what would you have? What would you have? A lot of work, a lot of anxiety, more. You want to get more money because you think more money will make you more happy, but you end up spending more time and collecting a little bit of money that you spend a couple of days, and you come back, you have to go back into the same misery. That's not life. He said, do few things. That's what this is saying. This is, again, monastic way of living. Do few things, do them perfectly, and then make your life simple so that actually you enjoy every minute, even if you're doing something that is necessary. So that's why I think the spiritual people, they say that. They say, if you're on the right path, everything will make you happy. When you work, anything you do will make you happy. Even sweeping and showering and cleaning the clothes would make you happy. As happy as you're in your church and singing. As happy as you are standing and praying, as happy as you go on a cruise, as happy as you go on a flight. Everything you do will have a meaning that will make you happy. If you're actually perfectly in that attitude, we don't believe that, but it is true. When we talk about Paul and Silas in prison, were they happy in Philippi? How can that be happy? I always say this, think about the prison. Roman prison in Philippi, in a ditch, and then out of nowhere. I think about it this way. It says that when the warden, the prison guard, wanted to see them, he had to get light, meaning that the prison itself was completely dark. And add to this, they were not allowed restrooms. So the floor of the prison is covered with stuff, but they're happy. They're very happy, and they're singing. And something, then the prisoners were listening to them, and everybody was wondering, what's those people doing? Why they are so happy? So this is when we are not in prison. We're not really in suffering anything. This is just our life. So this is how I think about doing this as a the foundation, and then you can build your prayers and meditation and everything else. Ask yourself about this. Do it as an exercise for you. That doesn't have to do anything with me. I remember one, and I said this story before. One abbot of a monastery here is in St. Joseph in Spencer, Massachusetts. He was the abbot at many years. He died recently. His name was Thomas Keating. Not everybody likes this guy, but he had a story, and he said it, and it touched me. He said, when I came to the monastery and was a monk, I had this person come with me. His name was Bernie. And he said, Bernie was the most annoying person in the world to me. We both came to the monastery as young men, and Bernie was a talkative person, very social. And from day one I knew, this guy is not a monk material. He cannot be here. He wants to talk. Our monastery and the order they were in allows 5 words a day. You're given 5 words to speak. After 5 words, you have to zip it. There's no talking, even if it's emergency. So they developed a lot of sign language to kind of overcome this. So sign language. So they said, if you open the door, I don't remember what they used to do. If you open the door to someone, Iman went to that monastery and spent maybe 4 or 5 retreats. Every year she used to go when she was in Massachusetts. So I think she knows what he was talking about. So when you open the door, and you have to bow courteously and then do sign with your hand, and this is your way of communication, so you don't really have to talk. So he said, when Bernie opens the door, he does a lot of acting, as if like he talks more than he needs to in sign language. So the head of the monastery said, what we're going to do with this guy? He's going to fail miserably in the monastery because he wants to talk. He's very social. So he said, we'll put him in the kitchen. He will be cook, so he can actually talk. Because kitchen people are allowed to talk to the merchants who bring the vegetables and stuff. And he would talk to the sick people when they are, need to be fed and stuff. So they put him there. What happened after that Bernie found out every monk's birthday. And he found out what every monk liked the best for food. And on their birthday, he would cook their special meal. And with a lot of care, he said, the meal was prepared as almost like the 5-star restaurants or a big hotels, and it would be brought to the room and be left in front of the room. He would knock and leave, and they would find on the birthday the meal they loved the most. And he said when later on he used to, in addition to cooking, he would actually also iron their clothes, especially if they're leaving the monastery to somewhere else or on travel. And he said everybody turned to know that Bernie was the most loving person. And not in any words he said, but in the details and the care he gave to all the things that he did. And one day when he was transferred to Colorado, in Colorado they have another monastery, a Benedictine monastery, was close to this monastery, they keep moving them. And he said the day I came to the monastery, he found his kesak, the tunic, his galabeya, was ironed on his bed with his vestments and everything he needed to have for the service on his bed, put in a very good way and in a caring way. And then this is years after he was ordained, years after he was consecrated as a monk. And the same day he heard that he dropped dead with heart attack in the market, and he cried. He said everybody cried for Bernie, although we thought he was not a good person. But he lived his life, and he lived every minute of it. That's what he said. We all learned from him. That life is not about how big the things we do, how he does it not to please himself or not to show off. Nobody really cared nobody gave him even a thank you. They were not supposed to talk on any of that. But they learned from Bernie that his life was about serving Christ in a very, very humble way, in the things that was given to him. And that's it. So this is something to think about as you reflect on how to start or how to build your spiritual life, wherever you are. Maybe you're praying a lot, you're praying a little bit, you're praying in the middle, you're not praying at all, but this is where we need to start. This is the foundation, this is the basis. To get my soul, my mind, and my body to be one, and not to break into different pieces that they don't relate to each other. That's no good. You're one and whole person. So answer those questions, please, if you can. Maybe we can have, like, if we have pens or pencils. We can do this. And then for 5 minutes, and just keep it with you. And then we go to the next piece of our work, because you have pencils or pens or something? Yeah, okay. Just take 2 minutes, 5 minutes to answer some of the questions, and then just reflect on what the questions would mean. The questions is, as I asked, do I do anything unintentional? Yes. The questions is a big paper. It's the same? There's one that is question. It's not questions. I put it as titles, but you make the questions. So, for example, the first one: when do you do multitasking? When is your habits? Because when you multitask, it keeps repeating. It's almost the same set of things together all the time. Becomes a habit. Do each thing intentionally and thoughtfully. What would you do? And if you prioritize, what would you do on a regular basis, and what we don't need to do at all? Do you complete each task? If you take something on, do you complete it or you don't? Do we have those papers? Do we have more? Yeah. Yeah. I don't, it doesn't have to be a dogmatic thing that you become, so much dogmatic about not multitasking, but you have to know what you're doing as multitasking. Just know it. And then if you think it is not, if it's watching TV and eating, preferably when you eat it slowly, and you eat it with thoughtfulness and prayerfulness and thankfulness. And so, yeah. Yeah. That's fine, but I don't think it's important. What I'm trying to say is, don't let your life be all multitasking. That every time, every minute of your day, you're doing 3-4 jobs at the same time. And we think of it as something clever. Hey, I can multitask. Hey, I can do many things at the same time. We need to break that down. It's actually harmful, very harmful. And the world says you can do a lot, you can do and you can produce. There's a TED talk of one woman. She was talking about how we save time to cram it with other things. I need to bring that one, and it's very, very beautiful, actually. Do you tend to do more, or you have the ability to push the brakes and say no? Do you take breaks? Will you be willing to take breaks? Do you have habits developed intentionally, or you let yourself be led by whatever circumstances? Do you have intention of doing certain things and you have a plan for that? Do you have priorities? Do you know your priorities? Do you have a priority list? Do you have time devoted for prayer and meditation? Do you have structured meals, and your room and the house is clean, neat, and simple, pleasant, enjoyable? If not, do you have time dedicated for doing that? Looking around from time to time, maybe once a week, and see, what can I do to make this place more beautiful? Without having to spend a lot of money, because that doesn't make sense. Do you have a plan for every day? Do you plan for the next day? Or you let the day plan itself for you? You're going to make us fall asleep. I don't think, I'm not trying to cancel all multitasking, but our life should not be all multitasking. We have to start thinking about slowing down. So we don't have to be, it's harmful to do that. But you have the choice. You have the choice. But I think, here's my thought. If you want to focus on building service and building the kids and stuff, but your own home and your own life is not really very well in order, I don't think you're going to continue doing the service. At one point or another, you're going to lose energy because you're not charging. Remember, Jesus used to go out in the morning before he starts his day. Early morning he goes out. What's he doing? He doesn't have a home. His home is nature, with the Father. So he starts with himself first. Start in Jerusalem. I would give priority to that. Once I make sure that it's established and neat and good, then I move on to outside. Okay, yes? That's very, yeah. It's the idea of the processor and the computer. The processor doesn't do two jobs at the same time. It's switching. It jumps back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, which is distracting. And if you notice in the computer, it actually does what at the end? Huh? It slows. The computer slows down and then it freezes, right? Because you're overwhelming the short-term memory and the processor. That's true, right? Okay, if we're done with this, we move to the next one, which is a little bit more. It's on the same idea, but we're going to talk about two things here. First, in the last few weeks, I've been talking about the kingdom of God as our Catamaris is doing. The Catamaris is actually speaking about the kingdom of God from Tut and Baba, after we move on from the beginning of the year with John the Baptist, and then we move into Jesus the King. Immediately, Jesus the King and the kingdom of God. So, and I want to summarize what I said. All of you most probably have heard me talk about the kingdom and how Jesus is a king in many ways. And we said that there is a show of power at the beginning of the kingdom, but then he establishes the kingdom. And the kingdom is established in 3 dimensions, right? 3 dimensions. I always talk about those 3 dimensions. The kingdom within, which is the kingdom of God inside of me, which is the work of the Holy Spirit. The kingdom as a church. This is extremely important. And I think we need to more and more discover what does that mean, that the kingdom of God is the church. What does it mean? In different ways. If you look at the court of the king, you go to a palace, where Buckingham Palace, or you go to the King of Spain. How is that palace is ordered? We just talked about this. How it is ordered, and how that palace affects all the domain of the king. And the third one is the kingdom to come, or you might say the kingdom of the Father, when the Son has delivered this kingdom, the church, to the Father. So we have parable about the king, and that's what I want to look at today. The parable about the king, and I'm going to divide ourselves into 7 groups, and each group will take one parable and tell us what do you think this. It's a very common parables, you all know it, and you know what it means. Maybe 6 groups. We'll start by reading that one first one together, from 2 to 7. So we'll read that first one together. So you have your Coptic reader? I have. Okay. It's Luke 12 that we read it in the third watch of midnight. And he speaks to us. Who is the little flock? It's the church, us. Do not fear, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. So he's giving us the kingdom. Okay, does that sound like something you're familiar with? Do you know anything about the gift of the kingdom? Does that sound anything? Does it hit anything? There's any association about this? It actually associates with me from Daniel. Daniel, the last vision of Daniel. That's what I want to go there and read it with you, just to make that point. There is something about the kingdom given to us. And it is in the vision of Daniel, and in the very end. Let me see. And this is about actually the dream of Nebuchadnezzar, maybe. And it's maybe the beginning. Yes, so that's Daniel 2. He dreamt of a gold statue that's mixed with copper and bronze and silver and iron. And then Daniel is explaining the dream. So the king dreamt that he saw a big statue of different metals, and then a stone cut without a hand, and came and fell on the toes of that statue. And it fell on the toes made of iron mixed with clay, and the whole statue would collapse and became like dust. So what does Saint Daniel say to him? So in chapter 2, verse 39. You want to read it? Go ahead.
I don't need the microphone. But after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to yours, then another, a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, as iron breaks in pieces and shatters everything. And like iron that crushes, that kingdom will break in pieces and crush all the others. Whereas you saw the feet and toes partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, yet the strength of the iron shall be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. And as you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of these kings, the God of heaven, which set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Inasmuch as you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God has made known to the king what will come to pass after this. The dream is certain, and its interpretation is sure.
So what is he saying then? That there will be many kingdoms, at the end of them will come, and God will give that kingdom to another people, and that kingdom will not be taken away from them. So when Jesus is saying to the church, be of good cheer, little flock, because your Father had the pleasure to give you the kingdom, meaning the time came for the fulfillment of the Daniel vision, or the interpretation of Daniel. So this is something that Daniel had spoken about, the kingdom given to the church. And the stone explained, the stone that's cut without a hand is Christ, who came without a man, who was hit. And here it is that the stone came on the fingers or the toes with the mixed clay with the iron. It's not in the Roman Empire at the beginning. It's the Roman Empire in the 4th century when Constantine took over, and later on the kings came after him. The whole earth became Christian. It's in the time of Constantine and the Byzantine kingdom. But then he goes on to say, sell your stuff and give alms. Sell what you have and give alms. That's Luke 7, Luke 12. He said, sell what you have and give alms. Provide yourselves money bags which do not grow old, a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief approaches nor moth destroys it. Because where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So he's asking us to help the poor and to not keep things more than what we need. And he said that because where your heart is, your treasure should be, or the opposite. Where your treasure is, your heart shall be. And he speaks to us as people waiting for their master when he will return from the wedding, that when he comes, he knocks, and they open to him immediately. Then he said, blessed are those servants whom the master, when he comes, will find watching. Assuredly I say to you, that he will gird himself and have them sit down and eat, and will come and serve them. And if he should come in the second watch, or come in the third watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. What's second watch, third watch? The Jewish calendar, the timing is divided, the time of the day, to 4 watches, night 4 watches. Night starts at 6 p.m. and ends at 6 a.m. From 6 to 9, first watch. 9 to midnight, second watch. Midnight to 3 a.m., third watch. 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., fourth watch. He said if he comes in the second and the third. Why the second and the third? The first watch is not as dark as, and the last watch is not as dark. It's the darkest watches, where the darkness is complete and perfect. You can't see anything. So he said, we have, as if every one of us is a servant in a house. Big house, the palace, the court of the king. And each one of us is responsible for something. And we are waiting for the master to come back. We're waiting for him to come back. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. And then Peter spoke. Peter was always speaking. And he said, always asking a question. Are you saying this to everybody? Are they all serving in the house, or it's about us, the apostles? We left everything to be your men, the men of the king. And he said, who is the faithful and wise? What's he talking about? The steward. Who is the steward? Did you see, anybody had the chance to see any? I've seen a couple of episodes in the night. I don't have the time to see the rest of it. Downton Abbey, upstairs, downstairs. Never saw those ones. Have you seen any English, British stuff about the noble houses where they keep the butlers and the... Huh? Downton Abbey. You have a butler and you have a headmaid. I forgot their names. It was a very nice man who was very faithful to the family and very faithful to the man. And he is trusting him in everything. That man, I forgot his name. Do you remember his name? Anyway. Huh? Hughes is the head maid. The woman is Hughes. Yeah, and Mr. forgot his name. But that Mr. was entrusted with everything. Literally everything. And he, by the way, that head man, the butler, is responsible for running the business in the house. He has an idea. He knows. He knows how a house to be run. He doesn't take detailed instructions on what should be done. The house owner, this noble family, the royal family, leave the stuff to him to manage it. In Isaiah, he was speaking about something like this, just for us to know the picture. Isaiah 22. That man have the keys to the riches of the family. He has the keys to the wine cellar, to the money box, to the jewels, the dresses, everything. The head maid maybe would have one to the dresses of the females. And then he would have those keys. Isaiah 22 speaks about something like this. He speaks about a man. 22? So he said about this head servant, or the prime minister. He said, then it shall be in that day that I will call my servant Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah. I will clothe him with your robe. He's talking to another prime minister who was not good. And strengthen him with your belt. I will commit your responsibility to his hand. He shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Judah. The key of the house of David I will lay on his shoulder. So he shall open and no one shall shut, and he shall shut and no one shall open. What did Jesus say to Peter? When he said, you are the Son of the living God? Who do you say that I am? And Peter said, you are the Son of the living God. And what did Jesus answer and said? No one had spoken this to you but my Father in heaven. For this reason you are Peter, and upon this rock I build my church. I will give you the keys of the kingdom. Whatever you shall bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So in the mind of Christ, and I just want you to look at it, take yourself out of being a religious person who goes to church and read the gospel and know it. And look at this. What do you see? That Jesus is not speaking something new. They know it. Peter and the apostles know it, that the prime minister in the time of the kings, what did they have in their hand? Always running around with. Like the butler, the keys. They have the keys of the kingdom, whatever treasures the king have. So they are responsible for opening and closing, for giving and taking, for everything they entrust. They are entrusted with everything. So when Jesus speaks to Peter and says, and Peter said to him, are you saying this to us because he knows where he belongs? And Jesus said, who is the steward? So in the mind of Christ, the church is like what? A king's house, where there's servants, everybody's doing a job. And one of them has a bigger responsibility of overseeing, like a butler, all the work of the others. And they're all waiting for the king to come back. That is the image that Jesus has. So, again, this again goes against the idea if everyone has a relationship with Jesus alone separately. We're not really, that's not the case. The gospel doesn't speak like that at all. We have jobs in the church. And I don't want to linger there too much, but I want to tell you what I'm trying to think and do. I'm thinking more and more we should take more responsibility, each of us, and be responsible. I want to start other services than Sunday school. I want to do things more than that so we actually can do more than just teaching. One of the things I'm thinking about, we're not going to go very quickly with things, but I want to do a stewardship for people. Like, I want a mentorship. I called some of our young men to take responsibility of the middle schoolers so that they actually one-on-one. And they have responsibility to check on them if they come to church, if they take communion, if they had gone to confession, if they read and pray. They might think about, we can make about a trip when they go together to a monastery, or we need to do this. I just think we're in a time that is not enough to have our kids, young kids, just attend Sunday school and church. We have to have responsibility. We have to have stewardship and mentorship. And I need the same for girls. But I personally cannot supervise that. I need also servants to take care of the whole process and supervise it. And I want people to volunteer. I don't want to name names. But if you volunteer, if you think you can do this, and if you think someone can do it, I'll be willing to do that, that they would take charge of the group that does the mentorship. You all have kids, most of you have kids, that are going from middle school from elementary to middle school, and we all going to need it. We definitely need that. Someone they would look up to, and I can tell you this from Confessions, and this is what prompted me. As somebody who sees it from the top, from Confessions too, our middle schoolers are lonely, big time. And that's why I wanted to bring this to us as stewards, as people who are responsible in the house. If God has entrusted you with the kids, then I need to think more than giving a lesson once a week. I hope you can see this. Girls and boys. I'm not talking about boys alone. Girls too need some mentorship. They need to spend time and look up to an older girl or a young lady who can actually guide them. But we need to handpick those. Can't really give the kids to someone who would lead them astray. It's very uncomfortable. I don't think the girls can talk to an older boy about things. I can imagine that. To a mother. I think it's okay, but it's not the mentorship that I'm thinking about. I'm looking for a friendship. I'm looking for a friend that would actually, because a mother is always a mother. Either it's biological mother or another lady in the church that they're comfortable with. But there's certain things I remember growing up, I can't speak with anybody except my friend. If he's a little older, but not very old, I connect with them. But I need that responsibility. So I know, for example, a couple of kids will immediately bind themselves to anybody that would ask about them. But I don't want that. I want to make sure that the person is suitable for that person, that they are not rejecting them. We need to think about it, and I need names. If you want to volunteer, all what I'm thinking about, this is what I'm thinking about, is to check twice a week on the person. Twice every week, a phone call goes to the girl or the boy. How are you doing? I didn't see you in the church this week, etc. Yes? Yeah. I'm not asking you. I'm just trying to say. At least college. No, high schoolers. At least college. Yes, but I'm hoping that when they go from middle school to high school, they keep that relationship. Yes. They're in a very tough time, and I don't think they're emotionally able to support somebody. Yes, college or graduates. Graduates are early. I think most stable is young grads. If the best, but if not, then we'll take. We have to think about it together. That's why I'm opening it up. I am not going to be the person to, and that's why I said, if someone you think is good to take that on, I need the names. I need all of us to share in that and adopt it and know it and facilitate it too. That we know that this should be existing. I will tell the fellowship especially, but I have to pick the people and tell them, you're invited to do this, will you be willing to do this? I tried last Sunday, but Sunday was busy, it was very busy, so I'm going to do it this Sunday too. But I want you to be on top of this. I'm going to, just postpone the other readings, but this is on my mind. As stewards, as people that God entrusted us with service, we cannot just say, that's it, I've done what I needed to do. We need to do this little more. But not us, it is, you have to be with me in picking up and selecting. Say, I think this is going to be a good person. Boys and girls. I just don't need only boys. Yes? It doesn't have to be direct. Yeah. But it's not that we're going to say, these are your mentors, he is responsible for you, talk to him. No, I'm not going to do that, no. But the person is going to check on them, ask, and they will be seeing them in church. It's not like somebody that they have never seen before. Like somebody is familiar, not stranger. Yeah. Somebody they're used to. And this is what I'm thinking about. And we need to open our eyes and hearts for other things. I will start with this, and I'm thinking about we have to start a program of serving the poor. We have not done anything yet as a church. We need to start. These are the things that we are called to. If we are the kingdom of God, then what we should do? If we are responsible for the house of Christ, what should we do? I hope he doesn't leave. I sent Mark, he's from Canada, but I'm surprised that he's going to go back, to go and help with the soup kitchen it's something I'm dreaming about. Soup kitchen for what's the name of the town? Durham, thank you. Durham is a very, very needy place. So there is a soup kitchen done by the Episcopalian Church, the Presbyterian Church, and the Methodist. They do have services like this, and we have not even thought about it. We're just very much focused on ourselves, and it's about time to open. And opening up actually will help our kids. And this will be a very good beginning. Again, if you're interested and you think, I'm willing actually to have you be excused from Sunday school if you think you can tackle this and begin a service. I'm all for it. I just don't have that time. They do on Saturday and Tuesday. They have every day. They do have it every day. Yes. And we need to start doing this and invite our kids to go and have that. I'm thinking to do it also for the school. Once in a while we do it for the school. They go and serve soup kitchen or something like that. So these things I'm thinking about. We need to do this. We need to start doing that stuff. Something for Christmas. Something for Christmas as a Sunday school, we should start doing it. There's Marianne Ghali had sent us something, and I think where's Sandra had given me that brochure about serving the Project Christmas, the shoebox thing. We should do these things, and I don't think this is very important and very essential for us to continue spiritually growing. I don't think we can just close ourselves and say we're going to pray and fast and not grow. It is tight, yeah. But I don't want us to think about this project and we're thinking in long term. We need to do these things. And I need volunteers, somebody to spearhead, somebody to lead. If you look to Abuna, I cannot do everything, just let's do it intentionally again. Intentionally, I cannot do everything. And I cannot lead everything. If you don't do it and lead it, the service is huge. And Jesus' word will never go wrong. The harvest is plenty, but the harvesters are few. We need to think this way. Don't think Sunday school service is all what we need to do. There's a lot more to do. And the more we open up, but not to the degree of dissipation. I'm talking when we open up, we grow internally, and this is important. Everybody is saying that. Everybody is pointing this out. But don't look to me to do everything. I cannot do everything. I'm only a steward in a little house. The steward cannot do everything, right? So we have to think about these things. We have other things to do, and we have not tackled them yet. And we don't want to stand before Christ and say, we hid our talents. He's going to come back and say, what did you do? Do we have poor people in this country? We do. We have people who doesn't know anything about anything? Yes. Okay? So we are not going to say, oh, we take care of our kids. That's all we do. We are not even able to take care of our kids. No, you open up, you get help to do what you cannot do once you open up. So Mark has done the soup kitchen, and he has enjoyed it a lot. He said this is one of his favorite things. He wanted to do more, but he has to go back to Canada. I want to catch him before he leaves, and he can tell us what to do, who to connect with, and we can do that once in a while. It doesn't have to be every week, but we start. And they can have, and then somebody says a word or say something as they eat. They can.
Some people sit and stop, like they have people that live in like a shelter. So those people we serve them, but most of the people are just homeless and they're in the line and they're
They can leave.
And then they take the food and go.
Just a smile and saying an encouraging word.
So if us as a church we can volunteer to go to
Take one day.
we don't have
You take one day. You pick one day and you're responsible for it. And they will offer you the place, and they will offer you the tables, but you bring your packages, and I think Mark does bring them in a car.
there's a move over there. They bring everything ready made.
You make it there?
You make it over there?
The stuff you just bring is like the buns, the snacks.
Oh, you bring the material. That's nice. They have action. Yeah. That would be the best. That's what I'm thinking. This is the best way to bring the Holy Spirit in the heart of the kids, to bring him out of this idea that we are a cult or a group of people that is not related to the church. Once a month, I need somebody give me names. Well, I need somebody to hang. Right? The noose is empty. And it's in my neck now. Well, it's my fault, I know. I've not talking about this before in a very aggressive way. I need to do that. So I'm not going to let it go until somebody takes that charge. I need someone who thinks God speaks to them. That's why Jesus said, pray to the Lord of the harvest, not go and collect people. Pray to the Lord of the harvest to send laborers. If God speaks to somebody's heart to do these things, then God is sending us in the right direction. And I'm going to pray for that. I pray for the liturgy that someone will have the heart and the interest. If I don't have what I have, we'll be the first one to go. I think this is to give donations and to make things, to send it by mail or not in face-to-face, doesn't feel the same. You have to see the people. You have to give them that. You have to be with them. And it is very different. And people who tried it understand what I'm talking about. Okay, let's pray. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, make us worthy, O Lord, to say thankfully, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory now. May the love of God the Father and grace of His only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you. Live in peace. Peace be with you.